A little bit of information, something you all might not know here in Great Britain. There are, in fact, 4 stages of inebriation. Charming, intelligent, invisible, and bulletproof. The reason I bring this up, a few months ago I was out to dinner one night in Aspen, ran into an old friend of mine, a fellow that goes back quite a few years with me, one of my old skiing buddies. He taught me a lot of what I know about skiing. We used to do a lot of camping together and fishing and motorcycle riding and stuff like that. It seems that over the years we've not been able to spend quite as much time together as we used to, and also my friend has developed a little bit of a drinking problem. And the night that he sat down at my table while I was having dinner, he was obviously invisible and well on his way to bulletproof. Also, periodically during the evening, he would disappear off into one of the back rooms of the restaurant with one or another of his friends. It was pretty obvious what was going on back there. Every time he came back by my table, his eyes were a little bit bigger, his speech a little more slurred, and his actions a little more like that. So I noticed all of this. The next morning I happened to be out at the athletic club where I work out in Aspen. And after a good morning workout, I'd gone upstairs to make a phone call, ran into my friend having breakfast. And he was having a breakfast I couldn't believe. He had about a 16-ounce sirloin steak on his plate. He had 3 eggs. He had rolls just smeared with butter and honey. He was drinking coffee like it was going out of style. From the number of little white bags by the coffee cup, it looked like half of it was sugar. I asked him what was going on. He said that he had perhaps had a tad too much fun the night before, and he was trying to get himself together for a tennis match that he had coming up in the afternoon. I found out that evening that somewhere in the second set of that tennis match, my friend had a heart attack. I went to see him the next day in the Aspen Valley Hospital. He was in the intensive care ward there. When I walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost all of his color. He had tubes sticking out of him everywhere, and really looked to be in bad shape. And I asked him how he was doing, and he said, "You know, John, I'm going to have to give up this tennis game before it kills me." I suggested that perhaps it was not the tennis that he ought to give up. I'm very much into preventive measures, whether it has to do with health care or crime or war. And I visit the chiropractor periodically in Aspen, and I found in my chiropractor's office a poem that deals with the issue of prevention that I would like to share with you people. This is called "The Ambulance Down in the Valley." 'Twas a dangerous cliff, as they freely confessed, though to walk near its edge was quite pleasant. But over the side slipped a duke and a prince, and it had fooled many a peasant. The people all said something had to be done, though their projects did not at all tally. Some said put a fence round the edge of the cliff, others an ambulance down in the valley. The lament of the crowd was profound and so loud as their hearts overflowed with great pity. But the ambulance carried the cry of the day as it spread to the neighboring cities. A collection was made to accumulate aid, and dwellers in highway and alley gave dollars and cents, not to furnish a fence, but an ambulance down in the valley. For the cliff is all right if you're careful, they said, and if folks ever trip and are falling, it's not the slipping and sliding that hurts so much as the shock when they're stopping. And so on for years as these mishaps occurred. Quick forth would the rescuers sally to pick up the victims who fell from the cliff with the ambulance down in the valley. Said one in his plea, "It's a marvel to me that you'd give so much greater attention to repairing results than to curing the cause. why, you'd much better aim at prevention. The mischief, of course, should be stopped at its source. Come, friends and good neighbors, let's rally. It makes far better sense to rely on a fence than an ambulance down in the valley. He's wrong in his head, the majority said. He would end all our earnest endeavors. He's the kind of a jerk that would halt our good work, but we will support it forever. Don't we pick up them all just as quick as they fall and treat them with care quite liberally? A superfluous fence is of no consequence if the ambulance works in the valley. Well, this story is queer as I've given it here, though things oft occur which are stranger. More humane, we assert, to repair all the hurt than the plan of removing the danger. Before it all ends, it's time to begin to attend to these things rationally. Yes, build up the fence and let us dispense with the ambulance down in the valley.